You're watching TVC Breakfast. Data made available by the Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative has shown that 28 states will be unable to fund their 2019 budgets.
Now, according to the report, only Yobe can fund its 2019 budget from the disbursements it received from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee. A drop in oil prices has seen a reduction in allocation as the three tiers of government were unable to share 2 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2019, as was the trend since the second quarter of 2018.
This has further highlighted the need for state governors to think innovatively in order to boost their IGR. At the weekend, the Economic Confidential revealed that 17 of the 36 states of the Federation are insolvent, as their IGR in 2018 were far below 10% of their receipts from the FAAC in the same year. And I have joining me now a lawyer, Inibehe Fiong, joining me now on Skype. Now, Inibehe, good morning. It's good to have you join me now. When you hear the statistics as to states not being able to fund their 2019 budgets, I wonder how it comes to you. Are you surprised?
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm not surprised by the announcement by NEITI and the Economic Confidential. Having followed the budgets of some of these states, my perception is that what these governors do yearly is basically a ritualistic pronouncement on the budgetary projections, revenue projections, and what they intend to achieve in terms of capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. You will often find in most of the states that the governors will make declarations regarding how much they intend to spend for the fiscal year, which they cannot account for. They will declare, humongous amounts of money that is not consistent with the revenue targets of the states. But again, like I told somebody yesterday, that for me, the real challenge is not whether the revenue of the states can fund their budgets, but whether their budgets really are, if they were to be scrutinized, are justifiable. What I mean is that when you see a state that can barely survive, a state that is still depending on the federal government for liquidation, a state that is still depending on the federal government for bailouts, rolling out budgets of hundreds of billions, and you look at internally generated revenue, it is very small, and you wonder how they intend to fund these budgets. When you now scrutinize the items in the state budget, what you realize in most of the cases is that the governors are embarking on misplaced priorities.
All right.
They're spending money on things that are completely unnecessary.
Inibehe, what do you think is at the center of this challenge or this trend generally? Because it is what happens in most of the states, except just one, two, or three of them.
It is clearly a question of leadership. The governors have not accepted that they need to be accountable to their people. And I have challenged the governors that, look, before we even have a conversation on whether their revenue projections and their revenue standing can fund their yearly budget, let us even have access to the budget. You are aware that most of the states in Nigeria today, they are treating their budgets, which is an appropriation law, as a classified document. And despite public agitation for these budgets to be made public, the governors have consistently refused to make them public. So why we are having this challenge is that the governors do not take, issues of governance seriously. The things they spend money on, in most of the cases, are things that are not necessary. If the budgets are subjected to public scrutiny, the public will now understand why the projections that the governors have are not even sustainable at all.
All right, we have to leave it here now. Inibehe Fiong, thank you very much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Oh, you're watching TVC Breakfast. Data made available by the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI, has shown that 28 states would be unable to fund their 2019 budgets.
According to the report, only Yobe State can fund its 2019 budget from the disbursement it received from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee. A drop in oil prices has seen a reduction in allocation as the three tiers of government were unable to share 2 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2019, as was the trend since the second quarter of 2018.
Now, this has further highlighted the need for state governors to think innovatively in order to boost their IGR. At the weekend, the Economic Confidential revealed that 17 of the 36 states of the Federation are insolvent as their IGR in 2018 were far below 10% of their receipts from the FAAC in the same year. Well, a lawyer, Inibehe Young, joins me now from Lagos via Skype. Thank you for joining us, Inibehe. Now, 28 states are now told they have to look inwards to boost their IGR, but you know what, the system we're on now does not allow the states actually, you know, when it comes to the exclusive list and the concurrent list, certain things cannot be done by the states. How then do they boost their IGR?
It is indeed very difficult for states in the country to be independent in terms of finances, in terms of their revenue generation capacity. We have a situation where the government at the center, the federal government, basically controls most of the, the resources of revenue in the country, from natural resources to company income tax, and so on and so forth. The states have been completely shut out. So the states are now meant to depend on the monthly allocation from the federal government. This is completely unacceptable. But again, you also know that the challenge really is that we are not serious in having a conversation about this federal system of government that we are operating in quotes. We need to have a serious conversation on how
when you say serious conversation, how do you mean? Because there have been talks about restructuring.
No, there have been talks, but where is the action? The action is lacking. We haven't seen a commitment to restructure the country, a commitment to make states self-independent. And let me quickly make the point that these states that are insolvent, if they were private companies registered by the Corporate Affairs Commission, it would have been just very simple to file for insolvency and have these states completely delisted and brought them into, a state of non-existence. But because they are conditional creations, that cannot happen. I'm just making the point to emphasize the gravity of the situation. We need to have a conversation. We also need to see action to restructure the country, to make states to be self-independent, to make states to be able to generate revenue. Again, the states are not even thinking seriously. Apart from states like Lagos, Ogun, and Rivers, that NEITI has highlighted in their report to show to be doing well in internally generated revenue. Most of the other states really are not interested in internally generated revenue. And even the ones that are generating, they cannot account for it.
All right, Inibehe Young, we have to leave it at this point. Thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.